So today is going to be a big day for doing some work on the barn. Release So it was the summer of 2016, and I was sitting in the little tiny cafe that we have here in the center of town. I had just closed on our farm and became the full owner after, kind of a long process of trying to buy the place. And I was sitting down and eating my breakfast when a friend stopped into the cafe, and he said, "Hey, I heard you finally bought your farm. You have this one portion of the barn that's about to collapse. I'd be happy to try to help you take care of it and make sure it doesn't take down the whole barn." So our barn is old. It's like, built in the 1880s, 1890s, something like that. I don't know the exact date. It's huge. It's 3 stories, and it's got a total kind of floor space of about 12,000 square feet. It was one of the most attractive things about buying our farm. It also proves to be one of the scariest things about our farm. And as I'm sitting there in the cafe eating my breakfast, I realize I don't know anything about managing barns. I don't know anything about construction. I don't know anything about taking care of the barn. So this friend of mine offered to show up with a chainsaw and a buddy and take care of the problem. I was still living in Washington, D.C., and so I had to actually rush back later that day to get to my job that was down in D.C., and so I said sure, and I showed back up at the farm a few weeks later, and when I looked at what had happened, I was kind of horrified. He definitely took care of the issue of having the barn collapse and take down the rest of the barn, but essentially all he'd done was come in and just hack apart various parts of the footing and collapse the barn himself. As you guys have probably seen in some of our other videos, we've been dealing with this problem of this collapsed portion of the barn. He just kind of had left it there, and so when I see this, I called him, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna finish cleaning that up. I'll be there any day now." This process went on for weeks and months, and eventually the snowfall came, and the mess was still there. And now it's been sitting like that for, about 2 years or so. The reason I haven't tried to clean it up or clear it out any sooner is because I didn't know what we were gonna do with the barn. And I gotta admit, that was probably the best possible decision. One of the things I've learned about owning a farm has been that there's a lot of value in doing nothing. Like when I first bought the farm, I tried to rush out and do all these things and change all these things and make things happen immediately, and I got wicked impatient. But as I've been here now for 3 years, what I've really come to learn and appreciate is the more time you spend with a place, the more familiar you are with it, the better suited you are to make decisions about what should be changed or what should be kept the same, what sort of things do you need, or what sort of things should you not bother with. I actually, by accident, did the magical thing of not doing anything. Through that whole process, I really actually fine-tuned my thinking around what we were going to do with the barn. So the plan amounted to being we were going to freeze it in time and keep it as it is. We weren't going to try to do anything fancy with modernizing the structure. What we were going to do is replace the roof, fix some foundational things, fix some beams that were falling apart, and really clean everything up. And so that's the course of action that we're going on right now. Today, my buddy Alfred, you guys remember Alfred, right?
I find myself pouring some of my waffles and be like, wait, I'm a maple man now. So I go back and I pour a little bit on. I'd be a lot more generous with the application of my syrup these days.
Well, he's coming by with his excavator, and what we're gonna do is clean up this mess, move it, sort some of the stuff, take the stuff that we can't burn and bring it into a pile that I'll ultimately take to the dump, and take the stuff that we can burn and put it into a big burn pile and have a nice big bonfire come this fall. So with the excavator unloaded, we set out to do some work. The process went pretty well. Alfred, who's the master excavator operator, just went through and just grabbed everything. He was just grabbing and dumping and grabbing and dumping. My buddy Jeff, who you guys also might have known from the video where I butchered the ducks, he's also in the process of trying to start his own brewery here in Vermont, actually in St. Johnsbury, Vermont. Whirligig Brewery, be sure to check it out. He was looking for barnwood to use as part of the decor of his brewery, and so he offered to lend a hand too in exchange for some wood.
You wanna just follow me over there?
Getting this mess cleaned up is important. It's important for a couple of reasons. First off, it's the first step in our attempt to really reclaim the barn. This mess has always been sort of an eyesore for the barn, and it's really gonna be a first step in trying to reclaim things. Jeff and I tried to help by picking up the sheet metal that we'd find or breaking apart boards for Jeff's project, but there wasn't too much for us to do. It really more was on Alfred to just keep picking up the stuff, moving it aside, picking up the stuff, putting it in his dump trailer. We would dump it and clear it out. It's all going a lot quicker than I expected. It's incredible just how much work the excavator can do in terms of just picking stuff up. You know, at one point, Jeff had said to me, you know, what do you think they used to do 100 years ago when they had to deal with something like this? And as I thought about it, I kind of realized they really didn't. Because generally speaking, 100 years ago, they would have been focused on trying to keep things maintained. It wouldn't have had this amount of blight. I guess that's a indictment of myself, but it's an honest truth. At first it looked like a stick of dynamite, but no. Looks like some sort of old like air pump or sprayer. I am in complete awe of Alfred's skills to back up a vehicle and a trailer. But then Alfred challenged me to try to do it too. And boy, was it embarrassing.
You gonna do it?
I'm gonna try to do it. Most of the stuff was cleared out. We had built this pile of wood that is probably 10 feet tall, and we're gonna try to set a bonfire this fall. In our town, you're allowed to burn once there's snow on the ground, and so, you know, that's probably only 4 or 5 months away in realistic terms, and so we've got it stacked there, and hopefully it'll air dry. But we had a really good day, just working out there, good times, hanging out, talking while we worked. Eventually Alfred's sons showed up and they all kind of hung out with us too. It was a good time. So we were just cleaning through the rubble and we found this cattle horn buried in the dirt. Kind of awesome, actually. This thing must be 40 years old. It's funny, it's falling apart, but wow. Wow, that's awesome. You want to keep it? Okay, you can have it. When I lived in Washington, D.C., I often struggled to make friends and connections. You know, there's something about living in a big city as a professional male in your 30s where it's really hard to make new friends when you don't know anybody. It's hard to connect with people. You feel so anonymous. You're sort of shuffling between work and home. Yeah, you have your professional connections, but those are professional connections. And it's just, I always found it to be really difficult. But one of the awesome things about living here in Vermont has been just the number of friendships I've been able to establish and just cool people that I've gotten to know. And you know, it was such an interesting thing to see a day like today where, you know, here Alfred was helping me, and here I was being able to help Jeff. And just this kind of cool cycle of people working together to get stuff done. Like, you know, I always felt like living in cities, things were always so much more transactional. But here, it's just based on helping friends out, and that to me is pretty awesome. And then when you look at what it looks like now, it's pretty incredible, right? I mean, look at this. This is beautiful. All I got to do is throw down some grass seed, and I'm ready to go. I actually have grand visions for this place. What I'm actually picturing is that in a couple of years, maybe 2, maybe 3, I don't exactly know just yet. But what I want to do is I want to get some cattle, and I can house them right down in there. They'll be able to come out, be out in the pasture during the nice months. I can build a paddock right here and keep them in for the winter. And it's going to be pretty cool. Just a herd of beef cows. And it's gonna be right out of this door. I can just see it now. It's gonna be the future, and I'm just really excited about it. Really special thank you to Alfred. He's an amazing mason. He's an absolute wizard when it comes to using an excavator, and he's kind of like a mechanical Dumbledore when it comes to just creating and building things. And so if you're ever in search of some of Alfred's work, be sure to check out his website, Old Goat Masonry. I'll leave a link right down below. Show him some love if you guys can, or if you're in northern Vermont and you need some help, or even in New Hampshire, he goes out there too. And if you're curious about my buddy Jeff's brewery project, be sure to check out Whirligig Brewery. I'll leave a link for his stuff down below as well. You know, in the coming months, we might actually have a special secret collaboration between Whirligig and Goldshaw Farm, so stay tuned for that. And when the appropriate time comes, we are gonna have an epic bonfire over here. It's kind of incredible what you can accomplish with just a little bit of help from your friends.